The Bucks win streak ends at 3 after a blowout loss in Orlando, but we did get a first look at some new Bucks. Plus, the Bucks are going to get a chance to get their look back on Wednesday. What needs to change in order for them to get that victory on Wednesday? We'll discuss all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Now, the number one sports podcast network out here. I am Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and co-host of the Technical Foul podcast. I am joined by Frank Madden, longtime voice of the pod, founder of brewhoop.com. And we thank you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks that first listen every single day. You can find the pod wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube. We are free and available in all of the places. And on today's show, we're going to take a look at what the Bucks need to do differently to try and get a win against Orlando when they play again in 2 days on Wednesday in this baseball series, 2 games straight back-to-back in Orlando. Plus, first thoughts on the two newest Bucks, plus getting Frank's thoughts on the moves itself, since we haven't had a chance to actually talk since the trade deadline, but want to actually start first with the game that was played tonight in Orlando, where it was a tale of two halves. And I feel like I'm just repeating myself after certain losses at this point. Bucks lose 118-99 to Orlando, dropped down to 21-30, still 12th in the East. Bucks were up 3 heading into the second half, and then they went into the fourth quarter down by 13. Like, on a night for the Bucks when all signs are indicating that this is going to be a team that is going to look to chase the playoffs once Giannis gets back. It seems as if Giannis' return is upcoming sometime after the All-Star break. And for that chase that the Bucks are apparently on, tough night when the 4 teams ahead of you in the standings lose and you can't make up any ground. You had the Heat losing to the Jazz. You had the Hawks losing to the Wolves. You had the Hornets lose against the Pistons, plus a fight that was kind of interesting. And then you drop a game to a Magic team that's ahead of you. So, like, on that front, tough night for him. But Frank, what did you see differently from this team in the first half compared to what we got in the second half when things just all seemed to fall apart for the Bucks?
Well, I think Doc in the post game said he didn't think they played well in the first half either. And I think that's true. I mean, the
Fair.
first quarter, really KPJ kind of kept them in that game sort of single-handedly. I think they were down 5 maybe after the first quarter. I think they had 7 or 8 turnovers in the first quarter.
7.
Ryan Rollins really had a rough start. He got caught on 2 backdoors to start the game, had a couple turnovers, a couple fouls. And Ryan's shown an ability to kind of bounce back from slow starts a lot this season. Tonight, it just never really happened. 6 turnovers from him. He's kind of become the guy that you don't trust to make good decisions. We kind of talked about KPJ and his live ball turnovers, through a lot of this season, but KPJ has actually been, I'd say, the much more reliable one in terms of that sort of decision making here over the past, week or two. And KPJ can't shoot at all in the
From
year
3.
2026. He's 7 for 40 from 3, but he's had a number of games where he can't shoot and he still puts up big numbers. And tonight he was, kind of the big bright spot offensively, 28 points on 10 of 19 shooting. His playmaking was really strong. Again, was really bouncy in terms of attacking. But, again, like there's just too many Jekylls and Hydes on this team. Kuzma, foul trouble, 3 points in 18 minutes. It was just kind of, again, like another, like you didn't know what you were going to get from Kuzma, and unfortunately you didn't get much from him. And so there just wasn't enough help. He scored 99 points in the year 2026. It generally means your offense just could not find a way. And I think the physicality that the Magic bring, starting with the 2 guards, Suggs and Black, I think, again, they couldn't really slow down KPJ, but certainly they made life difficult on the Bucks overall. And, like especially in that. I mean, in the first half too, like Bucks scored what 54 points the first half, so it's not like they, got out to a hot start. I think the other big difference was just Orlando couldn't shoot at all in the first half. I think they started 1 for 12, and the Bucks were losing. I think when the when the Magic were 1 for 12. So we always talk about the Bucks needing to have that 3 point benefit to be competitive in games like this, and they were 12 to 33, 36%. The Magic were 14 to 42, 33%. So there wasn't any real advantage there. And I think, you're just looking at the stats, right? The Magic had 14 steals.
Yeah.
That's tough. Magic had more steals than they had turnovers themselves. They only had 11 turnovers. Um, and, actually, probably the free throw line wasn't as bad as it's been in many games for the Bucks, but 24 for 27 for the Magic, 15 out of 21. And again, you just look at the
Mhm.
math game, right? The Magic took, let's see, 6 more free throws and 9 more field goals. Again, you're
It's
just
tough to
losing the
win that
math
way.
game. Exactly. And when
Yeah.
on a night where they didn't shoot particularly well, it's just they're never going to be able to hang if the kind of bottom line numbers are working against them in that way. So yeah, just kind of a weird game in the sense that they were right there for 2.5 quarters, but by the end of it, I say the team that played better, that played more physically, that is better. They showed that again in spades, and the Bucks didn't have any answers in that second half when
Yeah.
they went on a couple runs, especially in the second half of the third quarter. So, um, again, we could talk about some of the rotations and things like that, but
Mhm.
uh, you know, like I don't think it was a matter of one guy playing a little bit too much or something like that. I mean, they just got their
Got
butts kicked
outplayed
in the
as a
second half.
collective.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And your point about just like the raw shooting numbers from this game too, like you pointed out the fact that Orlando as a whole shot, what was it? 33% from three in this game. The Bucks shot 36%. But it was in the first half when the Magic couldn't throw a dime in the bucket, it felt like, where it was like, okay, they can't do anything with this three ball. And the Bucks were still only up by 3. And I was like, that doesn't feel too comfortable seeing how poorly the Magic have shot the ball. But this lead only being 3 points at this point. But again, turnovers played a huge role in that game, in the flow of things, because in the first half, the Bucks had 10 turnovers in the first half, 7 in the first quarter, led to 6 points for the Magic, 3 in the second quarter, no points for the Magic off of that. So it was like, okay, we've turned the ball over 10 times, but we've kind of held the damage off because Orlando was only able to score 6 points. I believe Orlando had 6 turnovers at half that led to 6 Bucks points. So it was like you're losing the possessions and you're not getting the shot attempts, which is bad. But hey, at least you're not getting outscored off of turnovers at this point. And in the second half, that flipped for them. The Bucks had 5 turnovers in the third quarter. They had 5 in the fourth quarter. Those 10 turnovers led to 21 points for the Magic in the second half, in large part too, because they were able to find their shot a bit more in that second half than what they were able to do in the first half. First half, the Magic shot 19% from 3, 4 of 21. Second half, they were shooting 47.6% from 3. They went 10 of 21 from 3 in the second half. Meanwhile, the Bucks offense just is stalled out in that second half. They dissolved a lot into the ISO ball that we talk about. You mentioned Ryan Rollins not having a great game. I didn't think he looked good on either side of the ball in this game, not only getting beat on backdoor cuts, but even at point of attack where it's like Anthony Black is
yeah,
blowing by him. Like
yeah.
it
There was
was
that one.
disappointing.
Ugh, yeah, where I think where
Disappointing.
Black had to dunk, it was just a
Yep.
total blowout. Yeah,
Which gave Kuzma his third foul because Kuzma tried to help rotate over after Black beats Rollins off the dribble, and boom, there you have it. So they have to be better going forward. But the theme of this season is that we've seen it all season where it's just it's consistently inconsistent with this Bucks team. Like you see them play the right way in spurts, but they cannot seem to do it over a full 48. But hey, we did get to see a look at the new Bucks in this game. We got to see Cam Thomas for the first time as a Buck. And although Ousmane Dieng has been on the Bucks since the trade deadline, got his first run in this game. So want to get your thoughts, Frank, on those moves and what we saw from them in their first appearances for the team right after this. But first, a word from our friends over at ZocDoc, because when you find a doctor that you actually like, it can feel like discovering a diamond in the rough. You want someone who's in network, someone who's nearby and has availability for sure. But you also want a doctor who listens and makes you feel comfortable and explains things clearly to you. Those doctors do exist, and you can find them easily with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high quality in network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. And ZocDoc makes the process very, very simple. You can search by specialty or symptoms and actually build a care team that works for you. You can see real time availability and you can book instantly. No phone calls, no waiting on hold. So whether you want to go in person or do a video visit, ZocDoc makes it easy either way you swing it. So stop putting off those doctor appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. Also, a word from our friends over at Wayfair because we in 2026, a month and a few days into it, the new year is here. It's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space before the spring clean out. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and how it feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every single room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. So whether you're updating your living room, you're organizing your space, or you just want to upgrade your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for you and your style and budget. Shopping is easy and delivery is smooth. Matter of fact, I'm gonna get on there myself because I feel like my podcasting space needs a refresh going forward. So I'm gonna definitely be checking out Wayfair and see if I can find those pieces that can match my style without me having to spend a fortune. Because y'all know I like to ball on the budget. So get organized, get refreshed, and get back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That is WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. We appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. We thank you for making it your first listen every single day and for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. I've mentioned every day club on here a few different times. Y'all be living your team every single day. So go ad free with it. Join the Everydayer Club and you'll get Locked On Bucks with no interruptions. You'll get access to a members only Discord that myself and Justin are both active in. And you get more than that. We've been working on some things behind the scene that we want to launch, post All-Star break. So you can get all that for $5 a month or $50 a year. But Bucks fans, you have until Tuesday, February 10th. So tomorrow or today, if you're listening first thing Tuesday morning to this episode, use the code still a buck and you get a free month. Try it out, see if you like it. And then come join us in that Discord and all the things. Frank, I mentioned that tonight was the first look that we got at Cam Thomas and Ousmane Dieng. So I'm not really sure how much you can glean from their debuts in this game, given just minutes. Like we only saw Dieng in garbage time. Really, Cam Thomas played a little bit and then got some run in garbage time too. But ultimately, what did you think of their performances tonight? And more importantly, just their addition to this Bucks team, especially at this point in the season.
I mean, you just look at the Bucks roster. I made a joke that basically the Bucks were going to be like, the basketball version of the Expendables movie from however long ago that was. But
with young guys,
Yeah, well, Kuz is part of that.
That's true.
Bobby is part of that, I think. Yeah, it's just hard, man. I just kind of think like there's just a lot of guys who are even at their best fundamentally kind of pretty chaotic. I think Kuz very chaotic, right? Cam Thomas, obviously, you know, his game is looking for his own shot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the upside is it seems like they're going to start Rollins and KPJ moving forward. So Cam becomes like just like 6-man gunner type guy. Um, like always play him with Jericho Sims as far as I'm concerned, because I don't want Jericho Sims touching the ball and Cam doesn't want to pass it. So, I mean, whatever. He was fine tonight in
He was
terms of
fast. He had that.
that
I'm a
part of
new
it.
kid at the school, and I'm just trying to
Yeah,
make sure I fit
exactly.
in
Didn't take
vibe.
a shot in his first stint in the first
Yeah.
half or whatever, 5 minutes, no shot. Is that a record for longest time without Cam Thomas taking a shot? Yeah, I mean, he had that little play where he got to the rim for a finish in the second half, but he missed his other 4 jump shots, and like I mean, it's not like we're gonna take a whole lot from this. He hasn't really
Right.
obviously had much chance to get his bearings with the team, but we also like the book is out on Cam Thomas. It's not like it's any secret what kind of player he is. It is a new place, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
he hasn't been anywhere outside of Brooklyn. Obviously, it's not like Brooklyn was, the ideal place to develop young players in a winning culture and all that. I don't know if the Bucks are actually a great place for him to continue that journey. Just given some of the other kind of stuff we mentioned, like the other guards are young and somewhat chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
You have Kuz involved. You have Bobby Portis involved. Um, so I mean, we'll see. Um, I think I heard saw a couple people reference it as like a low risk, high reward type of swing. I don't really think that. I think it's like low to low-ish risk. I also don't think there's like high reward here because I mean, keep in mind they don't have full bird rights on him. So if
That's a
he
good point.
played really well, they can't just like offer him a bunch of money. Now, granted, that probably is honestly it's probably a good thing to protect them from like giving him too much money. Um, so I mean we'll see what happens, right? Like it's just again like I'm happily going to tune in every game. I'm going to hope for the best. Um, maybe a change of scenery really does Cam Thomas well, but I also think he's a guy that ideally would be going to, a team like the Bucks of 3 or 4 years ago, not the Bucks of 2026, which I
Yeah.
think is just a very different kettle of fish. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, tonight they needed a shot in the arm. They needed scoring. Obviously, his first game he wasn't able to deliver it. Didn't play a lot. We'll see what that looks like moving forward. But Cam Thomas is Cam Thomas.
Yeah.
Quote, it's always it's Cam Thomas time, unquote, hyphen Cam Thomas. That is probably going to be what it's going to be like the rest of this year. Um, and as far as Jeng goes, I mean, Camille, I had talked myself into being excited about Ousmane Jeng. He obviously hasn't ever really gotten lots of extended run with
Mm-hmm.
the Thunder. I'm not sure that's really a big indictment of him. Um, toolsy guy. Has really showed out. He was G League MVP. Is that right? I thought I
Yeah.
remember seeing that. Probably the thing that impressed me most that he was like a 5 to 6 assist guy over 42 games of G League action over the last few years. So he's a guy that has some, I'd say, ball moving, playmaking sort of instincts. Not that he's like a point forward or something, but he's a guy that has some roundedness to his game, and probably most importantly is he's like legitimately small forward size. He's
Mm-hmm.
a big small forward, which the Bucks obviously only have one guy that counts as like a real small forward size player, and that's Kuz, and he's had to play a
Mm-hmm.
lot of four as well. So is Ousmane Dieng going to ever play a lot in this season? Probably not, absent a lot of injuries. But we'll see. He was able to get some run tonight. I'd love to see him, get some chances over the likes of Gary Harris,
Yeah.
Gary Harris is one of the few people who is not chaotic on this team. So I hate to throw Gary under the bus there, but we at this point, I think it's more about figuring out are there any other guys from this group that you might actually want to bring back next year when you kind of hit the reset button. So
Yeah.
Chang obviously is kind of a flyer. We saw him go off dribble, hit a short little mid ranger tonight. He also had a no dip kind of catch high, keep high three from the corner, which I had seen. I think Bucks Breakdown posted that on Twitter that he had shot one of those earlier this season. So of course I'm thinking of our dear friends Pat Connaughton, Joe Ingles, and the like, shooting those corner threes where they don't bring the ball down. So We'll see. We'll see if he's got anything. I don't know how much we're going to see him play, for better or worse. But hey, I will be forever optimistic. We gotta kind of get excited about random young dudes at this point.
Yeah.
Camille, hope that. I mean that's honestly like what the Bucks need is they need to hit on more
Someone.
Ryan Rollins, more AJ Greens. They have a two-way spot. I think they have until March 4th or something like that to sign a two-way through the end of the year. It's been a little weird that it's been this long. I don't know if there's somebody they're waiting on. But Ryan Rollins, I think I saw a reference that he was signed as a two-way, and I think in late February of 23, I think it was.
Hmm.
Um, so or 23, 24, so 24, I guess. So it's worked before, right? AJ Green was a two-way guy, so go ahead and use those two-way spots, guys.
Pete Nance is a two-way guy now, so
Yeah. So you've got Pete Nance, you've got Alex Antetokounmpo, theoretically playing basketball up in Oshkosh, and you got an open spot. You obviously waived Mark Sears. He's with the Herd now again, but for whatever reason they opted to not kind of stick with Mark Sears, which I don't know that I've ever heard. I don't know that I ever heard an explanation of if
I
there was any
no.
real thing behind that. I expected when they did that they had somebody else they wanted to resign, but I think it was they just got the cut in before the deadline. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean Ousmane Dieng, kind of a ball of clay. We'll see if he
Yeah.
can be shaped into something that the Bucks might want to bring back next year. But the clock is ticking on all these guys, so we will see.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'm not sure if you're a Zodiac person, if you're a Zodiac GM fan, but Zodiac GM said that Cam Thomas is actually a great synergy fit with Giannis, A plus synergy fit based on their signs there. So I do find that always just a little interesting. But I do have a couple of thoughts myself on Cam Thomas, and I also just want to talk about the fact that hey, the Bucks have another chance to see Orlando very, very soon. Wednesday soon in Orlando again. So what changes do the Bucks need to make, whether rotationally or play style, to try to get that dub next time they take the court against Orlando? Talk about that coming up right after this. Tax season is here. It's in full effect, and it doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and then move on with your own day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can actually meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online, and they will handle everything from the W-2s to the self-employment forms, and they'll work with you to make sure you get every single deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and then get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, and it gives a real peace of mind knowing an expert is going to handle it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. Just make sure you file by the end of February, February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, Frank. Cam Thomas. Shout out to Justin, who during the Super Bowl put out a little, bonus episode of the pod talking about the Cam Thomas signing. Held it down solo while I was at a Super Bowl party, just trying to make something fun because the game wasn't. But the Bucks getting Cam Thomas, he was somebody throughout the year when his
Camille,
name.
let's be clear. The New England Patriots lost. So I mean that's at
There's
least something to be celebrated. As someone who
yeah,
lived in Boston for 15 years of my life,
yeah.
I
The
I
game
never
was
get
so
tired of seeing
boring.
that. It
The
was,
game was
but
boring. Halftime was good. Did enjoy Bad Bunny. Enjoyed that, but outside of that, did not tickle my fancy. The Super Bowl felt like a Thursday night football game. But Cam Thomas coming through. He was someone throughout the season when I was hearing the trade things. I was like, I'm not sure I would give up assets to get a Cam Thomas. I'm a little bit more interested with him being someone who was waived, which surprised that he was waived in the first place. But I'm a little bit more interested in that pickup there. But my concern initially was like, yes, we know he can score and efficient, but he can be somebody who can put the ball in the hoop. And for a Bucks team that has needed shot creation, I can see why you take a chance on a Cam Thomas. But he's 6'4", 6'3", and another smaller guard, so to speak, for this team that already has, Ryan Rollins, AJ Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., who we did not see tonight in this game, and I'm thinking about it. So it's like another one of these 6'3", 6'4" guards in the mix. The Bucks, as we have mentioned, do not have playable size at the wing, so the Dieng swing makes some sense. But Cam Thomas is one of those guys where it's like, I'm not sure what the fit will be like, and I hope that his play time doesn't take away from development that can happen with some of the other guards we've seen on this team so far. So I was just very curious to see how this all might fit, but especially once Giannis comes back. And it feels like you're going to have to lose some guys out of that rotation. Minutes will be squeezed, therefore. So I'm curious to see how it shakes out for him. It's not one signing that I was particularly like super excited about. I wasn't disappointed about it. I was just kind of like, this feels like a let's see. Like let's just see what comes of this going forward, and we move from that. So I do think for Cam getting here and having like the day of practice, going through that, it's tough to go play a game afterwards. Like I know he said, I'm a hooper. If they call my number, I'll be ready to go. But that's a tough situation to walk into. So I'm not sure if the Bucks are playing the practice tomorrow or what that's going to look like for them with the day off in Orlando. But all the time that Cam can get, just understanding the system, figuring things out, is going to be very, very good for him. So I do wonder if we see more Cam Thomas on the Wednesday rubber match version of this game when he's a bit more familiar with the flow of things. I don't think we'll see more Dieng in this upcoming game unless things get out of hand here. But also was kind of confused why we didn't see more Pete Nance early in this game. So I'm just kind of curious, like what are we going to see on Wednesday? Is that going to be rectified with some of the minute allocation that we saw in this game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think people that listen to the podcast regularly know, like, I am generally not a fan of extended Jericho Sims rotation minutes.
Mhm.
Tonight, what was he at, like 28 minutes or something like that? He played more than Miles Turner. He
Yeah,
played the
27
most
minutes.
minutes. He played the most minutes of any of the Bucks bigs. Look, they contained Paolo for most of the game. Paolo's a pretty miserable watch right now. He's obviously not having a great season.
Struggling. Yeah.
Um, you know, it just when I remember when Sims came in the first half, though, I just like you just like watch how the Bucks try to space and attack with him on the floor, and it's just like so hard. And they figured some stuff out at various points. Again, like they throw him so many lobs.
Yeah.
He did finish off one with a layup. There were, I think, like three other ones that didn't come off. Um, I think guys just feel like compelled to try to throw it up because he's so athletic. But again, he's does not have good hands, and everybody knows obviously what they're trying to do when he's on the floor. I think Miles Turner had a attempted high low alley oop that
Yeah.
really did not come off. Um, so yeah, and that was, I mean, and it worked fine for a period, but then I think where they really let go of the rope was when Bobby and Sims were out there together. I looked it up, like that group, like the two of them together, they're minus 16 net rating this year,
Feels right.
and it just feels like one of those things where it's like, oh well, one guy only plays defense and one guy only plays offense.
So it should work. If you put them
They'll
together,
complement each other perfectly, and it's just like,
they don't.
or you're playing 4-on-5 both directions. And
Yeah.
I mean, look, whether that combination, I mean, again, I'm not gonna say like, oh, that combination was the reason that they got run out of the building in the second half, but I don't think it helped. And I think there's been a lot of fourth quarters in the first, call it third of the season, when for whatever reason Doc would not go back to Miles in like
Mhm.
early to mid fourth quarter when it seemed like they really needed to, whether that was Sims or more often than not, like Bobby would see extended run, and obviously that brings defensive challenges. And so, yeah, I mean, and Miles has had some big rim protection games. He had 5 blocks again tonight. It's just like He's your best big man. Like,
Yeah.
play him like
And
it.
that block he had too against Jace on the dunk attempt, that was the one I was like, oh yeah, like that's beautiful.
Yeah. And especially, on the night, I think Orlando was like 19 of 24 at the rim. So I was kind of like, did Miles block all of their misses or something like that? So yeah, I mean, it just felt like the Bucks needed, they kind of needed basically to like try to protect the rim and then hope that they missed a lot of threes. Basically, that feel like it was probably the recipe. And obviously, they kind of got run off the floor, and the turnovers were a big part of it, right? Again, letting them get in transition, get easy baskets. Um, so yeah, I mean, again, would have preferred to see more of Miles earlier. And again, I just don't know that combination. Like the fact that we've seen like Pete Nance effectively playing small forward because you're
Yeah.
playing Bobby and Jericho Sims. Like, just don't play all those guys at once. Like, it's one thing if you play Pete Nance at the three because of some lineup with like Giannis and
And
like
Miles or
Miles or
something.
Giannis and
Yeah.
Bobby or something like that. Like, okay, it's you're trying to get him on the floor with Giannis. That'd be one thing, but with this group, it just kind of a little like, really? Like, does that make sense? And I think, he plays 10 minutes, and it's just like he's been a winning basketball player. I know he's not like the guy you want to put out there to be like the Paolo stopper or whatever, but I mean, we know what the numbers say. Like, they get killed when Jericho's on the floor. Like, it's just hard. He's just a limited skill guy, and his defense doesn't like, he's not some massive defensive game changer or whatever it might be. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. And again, it's just like frustrating too because I feel like whenever we have these conversations, like in the back of our mind, it's just like, well, unless they're just tanking. Like, is Doc
The
playing
secret
Jericho
tank, the
28
stealth
minutes,
tank.
and yeah, is Doc suppressing Pete Nance's minutes because maybe he's tanking? Like, I don't think that's what he's doing. But I guess that's a silver lining, Camille. Need if you want someone to tank, maybe sometimes it feels like Doc is effectively making decisions that would be consistent with tanking. So at least give us some Ousmane Dieng minutes
Something.
if we're going to be tanking. Give me some sweet Ousmane Dieng minutes.
Yeah, something. And one more thing I'll say as we wrap here, the Magic is a team that likes to live in the paint. Like, they're, I believe, 5th or 6th points in the paint in the league. Like, that's where they like to get a lot of their buckets because the 3 ball is bottom 3rd worst in the league for them. They don't tend to shoot well. So I mean, they finished the game tonight. We mentioned 33% from 3, which is right around their season average of 34%. It's just that the variance came between the first half and the second half. And when they started getting hot in the second half, the Bucks couldn't keep up. So hopefully on Wednesday, that Bucks offense looks a little bit more coherent. We know the Magic like to switch a lot. Make sure you're able to still find ways to get pressure on the rim. Either create for yourself at the rim, kick out to others. Make sure the ball continues to move against these defenders. And if you get in situations where it's late shot clock, okay, go ahead and then try to make something happen on your own. But let's not do these ISO shots with 16 seconds left on the clock, wherever the case may be. But that's where we'll wrap for today's episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more Locked On Bucks. We'll be back Wednesday for the recap of the next game against the Magic before they go to OKC on Thursday to wrap things up before the All-Star break. So again, thank you. Make sure you check out the Everydayer Club. Get Locked On Bucks ad-free. Members only Discord. Head to lockedonbucks.supercast.com to join the club, or just check the link in the description. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, we're going to send you over to the First 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel. You'll actually see me on the Locked On NBA Game Night episode for Tuesday as well. So check that out. On the audio side, make sure you make your second listen NBA Game Night. Like I mentioned, you'll catch me on there, and you also catch me on tomorrow's episode. So take care, y'all.